Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, B'ruchim Habayim. We are back on our Wednesday night, Stump the Rabbi. We're after some divrei Torah that BeEzrat Hashem will give us some chizuk. You guys will ask some questions, and BeEzrat Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, will give us some answers. Tonight's shiur is for refuah shlema for a couple of critical cases. Eliezer Shneur Zalman ben Tzviya Yachlit, and also for refuah shlema for Avraham Yeshia Alevi ben Chaya Kila, and also refuah shlema for Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rav Efraim ben Shulamit, Avimori David ben Nesriya, Doris bat Jora, and also for Atzlacha Rabba for Marsha bat Julie, Ayla bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Louis ben Marsha, Shaul ben Farzaneh, Amir ben Shaheen, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides that are out there helping us, doing all the amazing things that we're doing, especially learning our shiurim. More than anything else that we want from people is to learn our shiurim. Anyone that's watched our shiurim for long enough knows that. Of course, we have different things we want people to partner up with us on, like the current campaign, the Kimcha de Pischa, which Baruch Hashem today the team got the cards. We got delivery of the gift cards from the supermarket Rami Levi, a little over 850,000 shekels worth of gift cards. And Baruch Hashem, we had them distributed to the different teams in Tel Zion, in Bnei Brak, in Netanya, in Yerushalayim, and several other places. I believe we have something like 10 or 12 teams that are distributing it. Some are giving, to 100 families, some to 120, some to 30. Baruch Hashem, lots of people, lots of work, lots of preparation. I actually got a picture from Rav Sharvit Shichyeh of the special envelopes he made, to the people. Each one gets the envelope, and some of them get some writing on them, and these couple of families of unfortunately widows that are certainly struggling with the death of their husbands. So Baruch Hashem, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu makes us the vessel that at least some nachat, some good will come to these people's lives. There's plenty of widows and orphans and people that are struggling in Eretz Yisrael, much more than people really can fathom. And Baruch Hashem, there's enough that we could help, but of course we could always do more. BeEzrat Hashem.
עם ישראל היקר, ידידיי ואהוביי, ארגון בעזרת השם בחלוקה של שוברים. $250,000 של שוברים, 850,000 שקל של שוברים של רמי לוי, שמחולקים בעזרת השם בכל רחבי הארץ. כל הקרטונים האלו מלאים שוברים. תודה רבה לכל התורמים, תודה רבה לרב ירון ראובן, ולכל שאר המחלקים והמפיצים שלנו בכל הארץ.
And this all has to do with, not only working hard, but also earning the merit. Sometimes people ask, why don't you, call some of the rich people that you know from the past, that perhaps maybe they could donate, one donation from them, and you have not only to help all the poor, but you could build 5 yeshivot. And although that may be true, as far as the money is concerned, what most people don't really understand is that in order to be someone that actually Hashem is going to use as a vessel to help real people, and not just to write a check. Plenty of people write checks. Billionaires write checks. Millionaires write checks. And regular middle class and even lower class people write checks. But only a select few are people that Hashem actually uses to bring true goodness to the world. And for that, a person has to have real merit. As the Gemara says, "Megelgilin zchut al yedei zakai v'chova al yedei chayav," that the heavenly judgment, the heavenly bedin, decides who is going to receive the opportunity to bring more merits to themselves, and also by bringing salvation to the world. And the decision is towards somebody that already has merit, meaning that the meritorious, the people that are already doing something good, get a reward by being given more opportunities to do good. And that's in essence the problem with many people that are very, very wealthy, where many times they don't necessarily do much good for the world. And many times the hard work that a person does, it may very well be hard work, but it's not the type of hard work that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for. And this has a lot to do with this time of the year, where a lot of people are working hard to prepare for Pesach, whether it's cleaning the house, gathering the money together, making shopping, and at times we get so overworked with the preparation, we forget that we're actually about to celebrate a big holiday. There's so much work going into it that people forget it's an actual holiday. And also the same thing goes with that I saw that's obviously happening over the last couple of weeks, since we lost the great tzaddik, Chacham, the Gadol Hador, Rav Kanievsky, that it's become much more popular to talk about all of his achievements. Just today, I got something that I've mentioned in a shiur years ago, and but I apparently went viral in the last week or so, that about the incredible limud, the seder limud that Rav Kanievsky had each day, because in order for a person to complete all of the Torah that he completes, there obviously has to be some type of structure. So the email says, look at this incredible, phenomenal seder, which is a daily regimen of Rav Kanievsky, Rav Chaim Kanievsky. He would wake up a half hour after Chatzot, which is the middle of the night, according to the Jewish times, which could sometimes be literally midnight at 12 a.m. or 12:30 a.m. Sometimes it could be 1:30. But he would wake up at the half hour after Chatzot, say Tikkun Chatzot, which is a special prayer for a person mourning the fact that we don't have Bet Mikdash, how the Shekhinah does not have a house. In essence, crying for our distance from Hashem, which is in itself is a very special tikkun. And then he would start learning. What would he learn? 11 pages of the Zohar, 10 prakim, 10 chapters of Tehillim, Psalms, 8 prakim of Tanakh, 8 chapters of the Tanakh, 10 simanim of the Mishnah Berurah, 8 prakim of the Rambam, 10 simanim of the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch, 8 dapim of the Talmud Bavli, 8 dapim of Talmud Yerushalmi, 8 prakim of the Midrash, 8 daf of the Kitvei Ari, the Arizal, 8 dapim of the Kitvei Ramchal, and then he would write his Chidushim on the Torah. And twice a day, for an hour, people would come to get a bracha for him. During that time, he also continued learning. And he would make a siyum on all of these Sfarim, on the Zohar, on the Tanakh, Mishnah Berurah, Rambam, Tur, Shulchan Aruch, the Shas Bavli, Shas Yerushalmi, Tosefta, Midrashim, Kitvei Ari, Kitvei Ramchal. And he would do this siyum on Erev Pesach, but on Shana Meuberet, it would be on the 2nd Adar, the 14th of Adar. This year he completed all of these the day before he left this world. But the question is, when, of course this is all beyond impressive, the question is, when a person looks at this, do they see, oh, this is Rav Kanievsky achieving the impossible. I can't do this. This is just, you have to be a tzaddik to do this. Does a person look at this as, wow, he must have worked really hard, but I work hard, but I don't get that much. He must have had special blessing. He must have been gifted by heaven to have a unique brain. What do most people think when they see this? Rav Hutner, alav shalom, often disliked anytime somebody would say a story of one of the tzaddikim that was born like a prodigy already. When he was already 6 years old, he already knew the entire Tanakh and was already learning Gemara with Tosfot when he was 8. There are certain tzaddikim that were literally born very special neshamot that started off very early, and Rav Hutner would not like it. And they asked him, Kvod Rav, why don't you like it? He says, because this is not really something that the average person can relate to. What can they possibly learn from the fact that Tzaddik already knew how to create a human being at 8 years old by using the Kabbalah? What could he possibly learn from that? He can't do it. He's not 8 years old. He's 28. And he just learned Aleph Bet. What could he possibly learn from it? And there is a lot of truth to that. But at the same token, when you look at the achievements of someone like Rav Kanievsky, and many of the other tzaddikim and what they did throughout their lives, many people get similar feelings of, this is also the impossible. I can't do this. This is too much work. Or this is, you have to be special for it. And on come the excuses. And I call them excuses because really that's what they are. They're excuses. But the question is, what kind of excuse is it? Is it an excuse that you don't want to work hard? Is it an excuse that you don't think that you're good enough? You're self-conscious. What is really the excuse? Where do we stand? Because when you ask the average person about their personal life, typically most people talk about their work. What they do and how they do it and how hard it is. And it's very easy for a person to talk about their work because more times than not, they spend more times working on whatever it is that they do than they do anything else. So their work, in essence, is a very big factor and a very big part of their life, and generally speaking, the biggest part of their life. And everybody thinks that they're working hard. And if you ask anybody that is cleaning their house and cooking and doing everything necessary to prepare for Pesach, every one of them will say the same exact thing about how hard it was to prepare for this big holiday, for the guests that are coming, for the food that's going to be eaten, for the new recipes, for the few things they needed to learn in order to prepare. And then, once in a while they got thrown a curveball, like in a Shiur last night, that 80 or 90% of the people that watched the Shiur and heard that cumin is problematic when it comes to Pesach as far as kashrut is concerned, because of how it grows next to non-kosher plants, or not, chametz plants, and this obviously threw a very, very big curveball, because if Rav Ovadia says don't use it, but there are certain leniencies, but nonetheless, it's better not to use it. People that cook with cumin, wait a minute, what am I going to do now? It throws your whole hard work that you've been doing on its head. Throws everything on its head. So when people listen to our shiurim about the issues of Pgam HaBRIT, and their neshama is at least meritorious enough to receive the truth, accept it, and despite the fact that they know it's very difficult to do this and protect their brit in the beginning, they know that they need to do it. But immediately, people, even once they start protecting their brit, they call, they email. If somebody calls me, more than once in a row, they start calling 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I don't even need to know their name. I know that this person is a Pogam HaBRIT. They're typically very obsessive people, very compulsive people, and without even knowing it. It's as simply, you get this from experience, and you see that this is a common denominator among people that are Pogam Brit. And the point is that they all have the same exact question, which is, How can I do this? It's so hard. I've been trying. I work so hard to protect my eyes, but it still happened tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been protecting for 6 months, and then, when I went to sleep, all of a sudden, the Satan's wife shows up, and everything goes into the garbage. Is it the same thing as if I did it on purpose? Or I did it on purpose, but I didn't really mean it, and after I did, and the story's on and on and on and on. But if you ask all of them, are you trying hard enough? And they're all going to tell you they're trying hard enough. They're all going to tell you that they're working really hard, and it's really hard, but they're working hard, and it's hard, and they're working hard, and it's hard that they're working hard, and is there something easier because it's too hard, and it's too hard to prepare for the holiday, and it's too hard to learn the weekly parasha, and it's too hard to complete the shas in 1 year or at all, and it's too hard to do this, and it's too hard to give tzedakah because I work so hard for the money, so why should I give the money that I work so hard for to somebody that didn't work for it, and why should he get it so easily, and even though his times are hard, and everything is hard. Okay. Everybody thinks that they're working hard. The question is it true? Is it true that you're working hard, or are you hardly working? Is it true that you have the right attitude about your hard work, your right perspective? It's important for a person to know where they stand because, as Rav Kanievsky said in the beginning of his sefer, of Orchot Yosher, Orchot Yosher, extraordinary sefer, talks about different character traits that a person needs to work on. The first character trait that he mentions in Orchot Yosher is Midat HaEmet, the character trait of Emet, the character trait of being honest and always sticking to the truth, even if that truth is inconvenient, to say the least. But of course, that truth is not just with other people, that's needless to say, but also being truthful with yourself to really understand where do you stand. Are you really working hard or hardly working? Are you truly working hard at the right thing, or are you working hard at the wrong thing? It's important for a person to have the right perspective. Now, in this week's parasha, we have something very interesting. That BeEzrat Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu will have mercy on us, that we'll be able to connect it to what we're talking about. This week's Parashat Metzorah. Parashat Metzorah says, וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, זאת תהיה תורת המצורע ביום טהרתו והובא אל הכהן. ויצא הכהן אל מחוץ למחנה, וראה הכהן, והנה נרפא נגע הצרעת מן הצרוע, וציווה הכהן ולקח למטהר 2 ציפורים חיות טהורות, ועץ ארז ושני תולעת ואזוב, וציווה הכהן ושחט את הציפור האחת אל כלי חרס על מים חיים. את הציפורת החיה ייקח אותה ואת עץ הארז ואת שני התולעת ואת האזוב וטבל אותם ואת הציפור החיה בדם הציפור השחוטה על המים חיים. Translation: Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, this shall be the law of the Metzorah. This is the person that has tzarat. On the day of his purification, he shall be brought to the Kohen. The Kohen shall go forth to the outside of the camp, and the Kohen shall look, and behold, the tzarat affliction has been healed from the Metzorah. The Kohen shall command, and he shall take for the one being purified 2 live clean chickens, cedar wood, crimson, which is wool, hyssop, and the Kohen shall command, and he shall slaughter 1 bird into an earthenware vessel over fresh water. The live bird he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the crimson wool, and the hyssop, and he shall dip them and the live bird into the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the fresh water. So far, has 0 connection whatsoever from superficially. 0 connection. What does this have anything to do with working hard? These are people that are sick. Let's see. The Tosfot says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Moshe, and he tells Moshe that these specific laws of how to purify this Kohen, to purify this guy that has tzarat. Purify this guy that has tzarat. First and foremost, you have to understand that the Kohen is the one that has to do it, not just anybody. The Kohen has to look to see what's going on. He has to take 2 birds that are kosher birds that are alive, and then he has to slaughter one of the birds. is to slaughter one of the birds, and then take the blood from that bird, put it into a little vessel that's from earthenware, and then take the other bird and dip it into this blood. Now, how do you slaughter a bird? What, do you think they take some machete? No. When I learned this with my kids some time ago, my kids were fascinated by this. How do the Kohanim slaughter the kosher birds? The Kohen would typically grow a very big nail, a thumbnail, and he would go and to the neck of the bird, and that's how you would kill it, which was one of the most difficult jobs in the Beit HaMikdash, to know how to kill the birds. So here we see that you have some unusual process. Doesn't really make common sense, but nonetheless, it is a specific process that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself gives us. It's a process that has exact steps. It's a process that obviously works, but it defies our logic. It defies our logic how this person one day was perfectly fine, the next day he has a spiritual and a physical disease, how this disease is only going to be cured once he's thrown out of the camp and he does tshuva, and then when he comes back we do this whole thing. Like, the whole thing doesn't make common sense. Doesn't make common sense. But this is part of the work that this person has to do, needless to say, part of the work that we have to do in the world, in order not to be in this case. In the book of Kings, in the book of Kings 2, in chapter 5, there is an extraordinary story that took place a few thousand years ago, where after Eliyahu Navi was taken from this world by Hashem without dying, he was taken on a special horse and chariot. His Talmid, Elisha Navi, took over and was promised to have even bigger miracles than his teacher Eliyahu. Zachor L'Tov. Elisha Navi had an endless amount of miracles in his life, where literally the emotions of Elisha Navi would create enough desire by Hashem to change nature. One time, there was a group of wicked kids that were making fun of him because they didn't like the fact that he just purified the water that was killing people, because they were making money out of getting water from a different city and selling it to the people. Elisha came to the town, purified the water, and everybody was able to drink, live, and these kids hated that, took away their business, and started making fun of Elisha Navi. Elisha Navi saw in Beruach HaKodesh that all of these kids are wicked, the core of them is wicked, and nothing good will come out of them. Only worse will come out of them. That emotion that he had created a miracle where HaKadosh Baruch Hu suddenly brought a bunch of bears out of the woods. He literally created the bears out of nothing. The bears came out of the woods, ate all 42 kids. Why? Elisha Navi. Elisha Navi felt something that wasn't so good. This very same Elisha Navi, his name became well known everywhere. And when the general of Aram, the king Aram that killed Achav, the Rasha, this Goy king, he had a general named Naaman. Now this Naaman got a lot of kavod, a lot of honor, because he's the one that killed Achav. So after he got the arrow in the right place, the sword in the right place, everybody idolized him. And he started believing the nonsense people were saying about him, thinking that it really was his skill, his power, his ability. and his arrogance went through the roof. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not like this and punished Naaman with tzarat. But a horrible case of tzarat. His entire body was something that was scary to look at, from top to bottom, and he would suffer tremendously. Now, during one of the attacks that they had on Israel, the Goyim, Aram's army was attacking Israel on a regular basis. They kidnapped a Jewish girl, and that Jewish girl became the servant in Naaman's house, working for his wife. And she saw this little girl was a smart little girl, and she saw that the husband Naaman, the general, the famous general, is suffering tremendous pain. And she said, "You should go to Elisha Navi, Elisha the prophet. You should go to him, and surely the Navi can pray for him, and Hashem will cure him." Naaman asked the king, Aram, for permission, what he thinks, and the king said, "Sure, I'll even write a letter to the king of the Jewish people to tell his prophet Elisha to cure you." The king was the son of Achav, who was also a Rasha, and he didn't believe in prophecy. He didn't believe that Elisha can do this. But Elisha already saw in prophecy that this letter was sent, and he sent the letter to the king, also telling him, "Don't get scared that the king is looking to kill you. Just send him to me and I'll heal this guy. Send me this goy Naaman, this general, send him to me and I'll heal him to sanctify Hashem's name." So that's what happens. They send Naaman, and Naaman comes with his entire infantry, his entire entourage of army, all of the soldiers, everybody's there, big balagan. He gets to the house of Elisha Navi, and Elisha already knows everything that's happening in his life before he got there. And he knows exactly why HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished Naaman. And it's because of his arrogance and denial of Hashem, and taking the credit for the success that he had. So he knew that if he just gave him a blessing, it won't work. Because the blessing has to follow a certain pattern. Similar to how we see the tzarat, in order for it to be cured, if you will, the Torah says it has to follow a certain pattern. That Jew has to be thrown out of the camp, and even after that, it has to go through the Kohen Gadol, through the Kohen, and the Kohen with the birds, with the blood, with the whole thing. None of it makes any sense. You still have to do it if you want to get cured. So needless to say, this goy Naaman has to follow a certain protocol. And Elisha knows it. What's the protocol? Break his arrogance. How do you break the arrogance of somebody that has thousands of men following him wherever he goes and praising him and pretty much kissing the ground he walks on? Simple. Treat him like he's a nobody. Treat him like he's a nobody. This is also a sgula for anyone that ever wants to be a leader, and you want to get people that are very good and successful to really join what you're doing. Don't treat them like they are the best in the world, while you treat the people that are less than them like they're the worst in the world. Treat everybody equal. It's not really a sgula, it's simply a suggestion. But the point is that it's interesting that Naaman was expecting Elisha to come out of the house and welcome him. "Oh, your highness, you're this, you're that." And little does he know that Elisha is going to do none of that. In fact, he's not even going to look at his face. He sent his servant, "Go tell this general that's outside of my house with all of his soldiers to go to the Jordan River and dip there 7 times. But before he dips it, he should do some self-reflection, do tshuva, and destroy his arrogance, because that's why Hashem has punished him." Of course, the messenger has to do what the rabbi says, what the Navi says. He tells us to Naaman. Naaman is furious. What? I thought he's going to accept me here. Why did he even call me to come all the way here if he's not going to heal me? I thought he's going to come and put his hand on my head and just give me a blessing and then it's going to be cured. He's telling me to go into these waters, and what do I need these waters for? And the Torah says in the Tanakh, the Naaman was furious about this whole thing, talking about what is so special about these waters? I have much better in my house. He says, surely, I said to myself that he would surely come out to me and stand and call in the name of Hashem, his God, and wave his hand over the area, diseased area, and the leper will be healed. Are not Amanah and Parfar and the rivers of Damascus better than all of the waters of Israel? Do I not always bathe in them? Have I become cleansed? He turned away in fury. It says that this Naaman got really, really annoyed. I got better rivers at home. I dip in them all the time. Nothing good happens. What's the difference going to this lesser river? Especially since he's calling me arrogant. Now, the Rambam in Ilchot Mikvaot, the last halacha, Ilchot Mikvaot, the last halacha, in chapter 11, halacha number 12, he says, it's clear and apparent that the concepts of purity and impurity are scriptural decree. They are not matters determined by a person's understanding, and they're included in the category of chukim, which are mitzvot that cannot be grasped by a mortal understanding, and instead are fulfilled with the kabbalat ol malchut shamayim, meaning the acceptance of God's yoke. Similarly, the immersion in a mikveh to ascend from impurity is included in the category of chukim, because impurity is not mud or filth that can be washed away with water. Instead, the immersion in a mikveh is a scriptural decree and requires the focusing, the intent of one's heart. Therefore, our sages said, and he quotes Gemara Masechet Chagigah, page 19a, that when one immersed but did not intend to purify himself, it's as if he did not immerse. And although it's a scriptural decree, there is an illusion involved where one who focuses his heart on purifying himself becomes purified once he immerses, even though there was no change in his body. And similarly, one who focuses his heart on purifying his soul from the impurities of the soul, which are wicked thoughts and bad character traits, that person also becomes purified when he resolves within his heart to distance himself from such counsel and immerses his soul in the waters of knowledge, meaning the Torah. As Yecheskel said, I will pour over you pure water, and you will be purified from all of your impurities, and from all of your false deities I'll purify you. So here the Rambam tells us something that we already knew technically, which is that the whole issue of purity and impurity, tum'ah and tara, or purity is tara and impurity is tum'ah, are not something that is logical. It's not something that you could even get your head around and understand it, but rather it's something you must accept. Whether it's the purity of the family purity, a woman that needs to, as soon as she sees that her time of the month has arrived, she sees blood, immediately she knows she is impure and thereby is forbidden to her husband. She's allowed to go to the store, she's allowed to go to work, she's allowed to play with her kids, she's allowed to cook food, she's allowed to do pretty much everything else, but when it comes to her husband, forbidden to touch him, forbidden to sleep in the same bed, forbidden from eating the same plate, and so on and so forth. Until when? Until she has waited for the bleeding to stop, which is typically 4 or 5 days, sometimes longer depending on the woman, but the minimum of 4 days for Sfaradim, 5 days for Ashkenazim. Then another 7 days of everything being clean. She checks with a bdika depending on her circumstance. There are certain leniencies where sometimes a woman that typically would have to check every day. Some women only have to check in the first and the last day. But the point being is, after these, let's say, minimum of 12 days or so, 11, 12 days, everything is clean. She goes and she dips in water. What kind of water? The magical water? Are they water that came from Mount Sinai? Are they water that, that have certain type of chemicals in them? No. They're rainwater, but nonetheless, it's water. In fact, there's even a halachic permission if there's no way to start a mikveh in a certain place with lack of rain and so on, you're even allowed to start with melting of ice. Melting of ice. But again, don't go start collecting a bunch of ice and putting it in some pool. There's obviously other laws that go along with it. But nonetheless, we have a situation here that this woman dipped into water in a local mikveh, and she is now, as soon as she exits that mikveh, she is a completely different status of purity. She went from being the highest level of impurity for her husband, there's nothing stronger from the tum'ah of nidah, to the highest level of kedusha, which is she's Torah to her husband, that it's a very critical, important mitzvah for her to be intimate with her husband that particular night that she dipped in the mikveh. What changed? The water changed something? Did she get clean? No, she already took a shower before she went. It has nothing to do with physical cleanliness. Some people tell me, oh, listen, we're not married, so my wife, my girlfriend can't go to the mikveh, but I make sure that I don't touch her when she's, she has a period, but as soon as she's done, she takes a shower and everything is good, Rabbi, right? No, you're going to Gehinnom. And she's coming along with you, unless you guys do tshuva. Why? It has nothing to do with a shower. No shower in the world can help you. But then the guy told me, yeah, but I heard some rabbi tell me that there is some chacham, maybe it's the Ben Ish Chai, or somebody that said that a guy that pours a certain amount of water in the shower, that's the equivalent of a mikveh. I said, yeah, that's a leniency, that's only for guys, because guys are not obligated to go to the water. But he says, yeah, but what's the difference? My girlfriend is like a guy, she's like my best friend. No, Habibi, don't start making new rules. Don't start making new rules. There's a certain recipe for every person. Now, you have a problem because the recipe doesn't make sense to you. Because you think that everything needs to make sense to you. Because you think that the Torah is like a recipe book, is like a Harry Potter book, it's like your mathematics and your history books that are both not necessarily always in line with where things need to be. But they only find out things after the fact because there's certain theories that are proven wrong, certain theories that are proven right. But nonetheless, people don't question that too much unless they get very hard, very advanced in those subjects. But when it comes to the Torah, everybody assumes that everything has to fit in to their logic. And when the second that it doesn't, I have a problem with it, and they start creating their own rules. So here we see that the Rambam follows exactly what the Torah itself says, which is that there is a certain recipe. And for those of us that want this recipe to make sense of how to become pure, the Rambam says, don't expect it to make sense. It is not going to make sense. And if it makes sense to you, you're wrong. Why? Because it's not supposed to make sense. This is a divine law. It's a divine law. 1 second your wife is pure, the next second she's not pure, 12 days later she's pure again, even though the bleeding already stopped a week and a half ago. It's not something that makes sense. Naaman was a rasha. And needless to say, it did not make sense to him. But you know what makes sense to people? When things start to make sense to people? When they have no choice. When they have no choice, suddenly the things that didn't make sense to them and therefore they didn't follow it, especially when it comes to Torah, when all of the other things that make sense to them fail, they now are left with the thing that doesn't make sense to them, the law of God. And then Naaman realized that he traveled all the way here to go see this Jewish prophet, only to hear the Jewish prophet send him to some river, some ocean, something that doesn't sound like such a big deal, nothing more than what he's already seen before, after insulting him by not even saying hello. But Naaman apparently had some merits in Shamayim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make sure that he's given a full chance. And his servants told him, Your Majesty, you already came all the way over here. If this prophet would have told you to go climb some mountain or go do something else that's very difficult just to alleviate yourself from this inevitable pain that this endless pain that you have, you would do it. In fact, look how much jewels and money you brought to pay him. So you were willing to do anything anyway. He told you that you are supposed to go dive in the river 7 times. Naaman at that moment had siyata d'ishmaya and realized that, wait a minute, why am I not diving into this water? Why am I not going? Why am I going back home right now? Why am I furious? Because I don't want this guy to tell me what to do. And what this guy didn't really tell me to do, he told me to stop being arrogant and then go into the water. Why did he mention being arrogant? What does that have to do with going into the water? Apparently this Navi already knows me. This Navi already knows that I didn't want to go and listen to him. That I wouldn't want to go, that I would reject it. And in reality, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm rejecting it because I'm arrogant. Because I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. Perhaps there's more to the words of this Navi, than I thought. Because if it was just about throwing me into water or giving me a blessing, that would be one thing. But he told me to work on myself, to fix myself, to remove this arrogance. Because apparently, this strategy of his doesn't work without me working on myself first. And at that moment, Naaman humbled himself and said, you know what? Let me give this a try. It's something new. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But it's worth a try. Why? I have no other choice. He went to the water. When his soldiers saw Naaman without clothes on, they literally cringed. His whole body was full of horrible things, craters all over his body. He dipped once into the water, nothing happened. Number 2, nothing happened. 3, nothing happened. 4, nothing. After the 7th dip, Naaman, miraculously in front of everybody, had his body healed like baby skin. Baby skin. Where everybody there knew it was a miracle. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is some special water. Everybody else was in the water. Nobody thought there was nothing special about this water. A miracle happened here. And at that moment, Naaman knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one and only God, and humbled himself even more. A humility that will last him the rest of his life. Going back to Elisha saw Beruach HaKodesh that Naaman has done tshuva, accepted him, spoke to him, and also told him that the offer that he has for him of all this money is unacceptable. He does not want anything from him. He only wanted to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, which made Naaman even more excited about what just happened, to the point where he wanted to convince his entire people, all of his entire country, to convert to Judaism. Of course, Gehazi the Rasha that was chasing money ended up ruining the whole thing later on. But the point being is that Naaman saw a miracle, but only after he did the hardest part of the work. What was the hardest part of the work? Traveling? No. Dipping in the water? No. Sounds like fun. Hardest part? Breaking his ego. Breaking his ego. That was the hard work that Naaman had to do. Now, many times people have these difficulties in their life. Difficulty in their job, difficulty in their marriage, difficulty in the way that they look at the Torah, the mitzvot, the relationships they have. And they say it's hard. It's hard. It's really, really hard to deal with this. It's really hard to deal with that. She's really tough to deal with. He's really unbearable to deal with. Hard, hard, hard. Did anybody really look at the things from the right perspective? Well, perhaps you're right that it's hard. But is it only hard because the other side is wrong? Because the job is wrong? The boss is wrong? The schedule is wrong? The relationship is wrong? It's only because of that? Or is there something else? Perhaps something you can do about it? The difference between someone that looks at things from the right perspective versus someone that looks at things at the wrong perspective is a cure. Meaning that if a person looks at things from the wrong perspective, they have a tzarat, they have the sickness that never goes away. The marriage that remains stale or full of turmoil, the parenting that you simply wish would end, the job that you hate and dread, the coworkers you are considering killing, the food that's simply unbearable, the learning that is ununderstandable. You have a situation in your life that you're viewing as hard. The current perspective makes you believe that it is hard, it is miserable, and it feels like a disease. Feels not, if I really think about it, it feels not so different than the disease of Tzarat that's spoken about in Parashat Metzorah, Naaman, the Rambam. Perhaps it's not physical, but it surely is the spiritual. But when we think about the cure being that we have to remove our arrogance, immediately we reject it. Why? I'm not arrogant, Rabbi. Why you call me arrogant? Why you call me arrogant, Rabbi? Why? What makes you think that you're right? How do you know that I'm arrogant? You don't even know me. How do you know that it's my fault? How do you know it's not my husband's fault, or my wife's fault, or my kid's fault, or the boss's fault? Why do you always blame me? Why do I have to change? How do you know this, and how do you know that? And immediately, we all reject being arrogant, all of us, including Naaman. There lies the problem, and why we continue to struggle. Why we continue having tzarat. Because we have a wrong perspective of what hard work really is. We figured that if we got married and we get a job, then that's hard enough work to have everything that we want. A good marriage, good kids, good this, good that, good. So when it's not that, and we say, according to the Torah, you have to do tshuva. Tshuva begins with removing arrogance. You see, it has nothing to do with anything. This rabbi doesn't know what he's talking about. What arrogant? I'm not even arrogant. I'm the most humble guy in the community. Like some rabbis, some Rasha told me, you should be like me, very humble. I say, yeah, you're so humble. Like telling me how humble you are. You're so humble. Like telling me how humble you are. The average person thinks that arrogance has nothing to do with them. Doesn't even make sense. But Torah tells us otherwise. It's because it doesn't make sense that it's more likely to be true. You see, Rav Ovadia, like Rav Kanievsky, like all of the Gdolim, did an enormous amount of chesed for Am Yisrael in addition to his endless studying of Torah. But you're not going to find Rav Kanievsky or Rav Ovadia or any of the Chachamim talk about how hard they're working. You'll hear about their hard work, but you're not going to hear them complaining about their hard work. You're not going to hear Rav Kanievsky write about how hard it is to learn 8 pages of the Bavli and the Yerushalmi and the Midrash and the Tanakh. You're not going to hear him say, oh, hard. No. He says, I have obligations. Anytime somebody would invite him to an event, he says, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Why not? I have debts. I have debt obligations I have to meet. Debt? Who's the rabbi I owe money to? No, it's not money. I have debt obligations, it's not money. What debt obligations? I have 8 pages of this, 8 pages of that, 8 chapters of this, and 8 chapters of that. That's all my debt obligations. Your debt is hard work. No. It's just debt. It's not hard work. Meaning that they viewed their life very differently. They viewed their work very differently. They didn't view it as hard work, but rather debt, rather obligation. Rather, I need to learn Torah in order not to die. I need to do what Hashem says in order not to die, in order to serve the Creator, in order to actually have a meaning in this world and be of any consequence whatsoever. Not, I need to overcome this obstacle and finish this, and it's so hard. It's a burden. No. When can I get this done? Can I do it now? Can I already start? Why do I have to wait for anybody? They were looking forward for work. And you would think, oh yeah, they learned books all day. Who wouldn't? Okay. Rav Ovadia was also the head rabbi, and for many years was also a dayan. And one of the things about being a dayan is that you have a very peculiar schedule. The Beit Din doesn't necessarily always have a normal 9 to 5 schedule. The Beit Din that he was at closed at 2 p.m. And many dayanim simply, as soon as 2 p.m. hits, they leave. Why? That's when the Beit Din closes. Yeah, but there's still people online. There's people, some woman came from far away, Aguna. She's been Aguna with, husband disappeared 10 years ago, can't find him, or doesn't want to give a get. She's finally here. It's hard for her to come. Sorry, it's 2 p.m. Now, of course, everybody that's not in that circumstance says, oh, well, why don't they wait for her? It's not nice for them. Aren't they? Okay. Do you do it? Do you stay overtime for all of the potential customers? Even if they don't necessarily pay? It's easy to judge, but in reality, we have to see things from the right perspective. What will we do? Well, I'll tell you what Rav Ovadia did. Rav Ovadia wouldn't run away. In fact, when one case came to him of a woman that was an aguna for 10 years. 10 years she was an aguna. And as they reviewed the case, nobody can find a leniency to make her permissible to remarry. Her husband disappeared 10 years ago. Nobody knows where he is. She can't remarry. So long as she continues, she's still married to a person, even if he's not there, according to Jewish law. Now, Rav Ovadia saw the lady, was there at 2 p.m. Everybody left, including the woman. Rav Ovadia continued learning the sugya, trying to figure out a way that would halachically permit this woman to move on with her life. And he didn't finish at 2 p.m., but rather continued working and looking and analyzing until 2 a.m., barely with any break to pray, drink, bathroom, till 2 in the morning. Now, at 2 o'clock in the morning, he tells one of the members of his house, please, call this, get this woman on the phone. He says, Kvod Harav, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. She's sleeping. People sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. The Rav forgot what time it is. But when he's told what time it is, it doesn't make a difference. Get her on the phone. Of course, they're going to listen to the Rav. They call the lady. Of course, 2 o'clock in the morning, she's sleeping. But ring, 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 ring. Eventually, she picks up. Yes, hello? Oh, hi, Giveret? Yes? Hi, this is Ovadia Yosef. You came to the Bet Din today and to analyze your situation. The woman was shocked. Rav Ovadia? You're calling me? Is this a joke? Somebody making fun of me? It's not funny. Goes, no, Giveret, I'm sorry. No, it's me. I'm telling you, I've been studying your case all day since this afternoon. I just found, now at 2 o'clock in the morning, I found there is a permission for you to move on. And tomorrow we're going to paskin that you're no longer married and you're allowed to get remarried. The woman starts crying from the excitement, from the emotions, being forced to be alone for 10 years for some guy that disappeared. No one knows if he died, if he's alive, if he's this, if he's that. Long story short, he found a kosher, beautiful, holy way to paskin that she is allowed to move on. Something no one else was able to do for the last decade. And he called her to let her know at 2 o'clock in the morning. After the crying and the excitement, the phone hangs up, and they ask Rav Ovadia, Kvod Harav, Baruch Hashem that you found this woman a way to move on with her life, but only one question. Why didn't you just tell her tomorrow? I mean, she was sleeping already. It's not like she was having a hard time sleeping. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, she's sleeping. Why did the Rav have to call her at 2 o'clock in the morning? Rav Ovadia says to him, if I can bring a Jew happiness just a little earlier, why not? Why not? Thereby showing us the difference between someone that is working hard and someone that's living. Someone that's working hard could very well be at the Bet Din or at the factory or whatever job they have till 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock or whatever schedule they have. Whereas Rav Ovadia and all of the Tzadikim that live in accordance with the Torah, whatever role they have, they simply utilize the Torah as their rule book of how to conduct whatever it is they're conducting. Now, if you are in a world of helping people, and you can bring some joy, some happiness, some profit of some kind, some good news to somebody earlier, the schedule, the difficulty of it is inconsequential. You don't consider it. The fact that he had to learn and toil for 12 hours straight wasn't part of the consideration. Because when somebody works their job for money, then surely their job is bound to become hard at some point. Whereas when somebody is using their job as a way to serve Hashem, the money is not even a consideration. It's simply a byproduct. It's a consequence of natural events. How do we know who's motivated by money versus otherwise? Simple. A person that's motivated to do their job, whatever their job is, whether it's law or medicine or consulting or marketing, whatever it is that they do, they're motivated by money. How do you know they're motivated by money? How do you know you're motivated by money? Simple. Your boss tells you, listen, you're doing really good. We like you, but we don't really need your service. But we're going to still pay you. Take care. Meaning, I'm giving you the opportunity to pay you your salary, but you don't have to help us. You don't have to do anything. Now that person takes the opportunity, says, oh, sure, I'll take the money, $50, $100, $200, $500,000, free. Great. What a fantastic opportunity. Now I could really vacation and do other things that I've always wanted to do. Now you say, yeah, that's perfectly normal. You're right, it's perfectly normal. But that means that his job, despite it being normal, the way he behaved of accepting this opportunity of getting free money, if you will, also showed proof that the only reason why he did his job was not because he loved his job. Rather, he loved the money. His job paid him. He enjoyed the money. He needed the money. But now, if he can get this money without the job, surely he would prefer that. On the other hand, when a person works like Rav Ovadia did, like the Tzadikim do, didn't consider the reward, whether it be money, notoriety, a certain position, honor, that wasn't part of the calculation. Because if you told them, if you do this, you're not going to get paid, it wouldn't change their actions. Meaning that although the Bet Din closed at 2, the work continued till 2 a.m. And not just that one time, but every single day. Rav Ovadia would continue working on these cases for as long as was needed. Another hour, 5 hours, 10 hours. Every single day. Would constantly look more, delving into it in order to get the good news to people. Whatever that news is. The truth to the world. The fact that there was money involved became so inconsequential, so irrelevant. There was one time a certain avarian, a husband that did not want to give his wife a get. Despite kicking her out and moving on with his life, didn't want to give his wife a get. The rabbis tried all different ways, nothing worked. Eventually, after many years, they convinced this guy to give a get. The Bet Din got together, the guy showed up finally. They all write the get right there and then, which is part of the halacha of writing a get, is you have to write it at that time. And the guy signs it. Reluctantly, for all throughout this time. But once it came to this get, he's here now, I'm going to get it done, fine, I'm done with this. Move on. Rav Ovadia picks up the get, everybody looks at it, they're happy, he signed it, Mazal Tov, Baruch Hashem, it's done. Rav Ovadia looks at it and realizes, although this is kosher, there is a Noda B'Yehuda, one of the sages, that would disagree with one of the words here. And according to him, it will be problematic. Now, this is something we can easily look over and not consider and there's a leniency due to the difficulty of the circumstance of how this guy doesn't want to be here in the first place. But to Rav Ovadia, it meant a lot. And he said to the guy, listen, according to all opinions, the get that you signed is perfectly fine. The woman is not, she's not married anymore. She's divorced. But if we want to fulfill the will of all of the sages, want to fulfill the will of Hashem, if we want to do 100%, we'd rewrite this get with a slight minor variance. Would you mind doing that? The guy was almost about to lose his mind. He didn't want to come here for years. Now you want me to do the whole thing all over again? He goes, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Before you say what you're going to say, here, listen. You see, he gives him an envelope because this is the paycheck I got for the whole month, being a dayan here. This is the entire paycheck. It's, you'll see, respectable sum. How about you take this entire check and we can rewrite this get. She's divorced anyway, but just to satisfy the sage from a few hundred years ago, we can rewrite this get and you could just have all this money. How about that? The guy says, come every day. All of a sudden he became happy. All of a sudden, this free money, I'll write a get every day. To Rabbi Ovadia, on the other hand, it was priceless. When Rabbi Ovadia came home, the Rabbanit asked him, didn't they pay at the Bet Din today? He says, yeah, sure, Rabbanit, they paid. But there was a guy that came with the get, and I told him that the get was good, but it didn't really fulfill the halachic requirements of the Nodab Yehuda, and really, it's better if we did it. Okay. And he did it? Yeah. Okay, so what about the check, though? Oh, no, there's no check. Well, they didn't give you a check? No, they didn't give me a check. I just gave it to him. And this is how he was. Such indifference to money. He would simply forget it exists. Now, did he have needs in the world? Sure. Like everybody else does. But this never got in the way of him living. Doing harder work than everybody else, but not looking at it as that. Anytime the Rabbanit would need money, she'd come to the Rav. She says, Kvod Rav, I need $1,000 for such and such. Oh, sure. Go open this book, this page, that perek. There's $1,000 in there. The Rabbanit, sure, will go, take the book, open it exactly what the Rav says, open it, see, there's $1,000 in there. What are those $1,000 doing in there? Simple. He was so into the books, he was reading, he was learning, that the money was there. Oh, okay, let me just put it over here and close the book and, move on. And you forget that sometimes the money's there, but anytime the Rabbanit needed the money, he knew, there's money over there, there's money over here. After the Rav left this world, left us an orphan generation, Rabbi Efraim, our own dear Rabbi Efraim, was one of the people that was invited to the house to go over some parts of the writings of the Rav and help write the next book from Rabbi Ovadia. And one of the things that Rabbi Efraim worked on is going through the commentary that Rabbi Ovadia wrote on Or LeTzion, of Tzion Abba Shaul's Sefer, and there was a bunch of letters and writings that Rabbi Ovadia accumulated over the years that he wrote on the writings of his dear Chavruta, his Sefer. Now, as Rabbi Efraim worked on it for 7, 8, 9 hours, long time, writing, putting everything together, putting all the different things in the right place, other people also working at different things, and he sees that there is a pile of letters, different types of coins, and tons of bills. What is this? Oh, it's all in the books. We're finding it in the books. There was literally money that already expired from, money that was already expired, nobody uses anymore. Liras and all types of currency that was no longer usable, that was simply forgotten in the books. Forgotten in the books, that's just there. Why? This is just like a hammer in the world. It's a screw. It's a nail. We don't live for this money. We don't work hard for this money. Why? Because the perspective is different. The perspective is different, Rabotai Yekarim. When a person's perspective is that serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu is hard work, automatically that puts him in a position that they're not going to enjoy their job, they're not going to succeed at their job most of the time, and even if they succeed, they're going to succeed at the lowest possible level. When a person understands that the life of Rav Ovadia, the life of Rav Kanievsky, and all of the Gdolim is not a different life than we're supposed to live. Perhaps they achieve much more than we could achieve, but we're not judged based on our achievements. We're judged based on our effort. our effort to serve the Master, our effort to live and not die. Live by understanding that the Torah is the only way to live, and not die by thinking that there is something else that can give me pleasure. There's something else that is better way. That the Torah is hard and I'd rather have hard somewhere else. The Mishnah in Avot, in chapter 2, in this Nusach, it's Mishnah number 20. In the name of Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon was also a multi-millionaire. There's several Gemarot that talk about the success, monetary success that Rabbi Tarfon also had. So he's perfectly suited to say this particular Mishnah. Rabbi Tarfon says, the day is short, the task is abundant, the laborers are lazy, the reward is great, and the master of the house is insistent. Now this teaching of Ayom Katzar Melacha Meruba Po'alim Etzelim Asachar Arbe U'Baal Habayit Dochek really has multiple teachings. One is that it's true. The life is short. There's an enormous amount that we need to achieve. But we're spiritually lazy because we figure that maybe if I do a mitzvah, I should just one good thing, or two good things, or 5 good things, or 10 good things. I should have a break somewhere, get a vacation, take off, not celebrate Pesach each year, maybe just every few years. Not realizing that the reward is great. And that the master of the house, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is insistent that this is the only way, because not following it is a severe crime. On the other hand, when we look at it in the natural world, we look at our life. If you run a business, if you have employees, if you have a team of any kind, even if it's a team of volunteers, the more passionate you are about what you're doing, the more valuable the reward is for doing what you're supposed to be doing. The more you'll notice how there's never enough time. And even more so, that the amount of work you need to do is endless. There's never a dull moment. There's always something that needs to be taken care of. There's never a time where there's just simply nothing to do. Oh, the computer is down. Okay, fine, we'll just fix the shelves. But you're not a shelf company. I don't need to be a shelf company in order to fix shelves because we need shelves. Oh, but the shelves are down. Okay, so I'll work on a computer. Oh, but the computer is down also. Okay, so I'll go and do something else that's necessary for the company, for the business, for the show, for the mission. There's always something to do. The more significant the reward is, the more you'll see that there's more moving parts. Before you know it, you find yourself in front of some task for 5, 7, 8 hours in a row. When you first started it, you thought, oh, I'll finish this in an hour or two and then I'll get on with the next thing. By the time you completed the 8 hours, you realize you have at least another 80 hours before you're going to complete it. That this small task just became a big task. And you simply underestimated the magnitude. But yet the time that you have seems to have gotten lesser rather than more abundant. What about help? Everyone all of a sudden is busy with something else. They just can't help you. Either they're working on something else, or they're sneezing today, or they're taking antibiotics, or they're sleepy, or they have some type of event, or they're this, or they're that, or the car doesn't work, or this. How come? Are they really always sick? Are they really always busy? Are they really always something that makes them unreliable? Inconsistent? Well, 1 week it seems like they're the best workers in the world, but then for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks straight, you forgot they're even an employee. where 1 month, they're the star. But the following 6, more like a comet or a meteor. It's going to explode somewhere. And you sometimes wish it does. So you don't have to deal with it. How come you're so passionate and they're just showing up to work? The laborers are lazy because they don't realize how great the reward is for what they do. Now the Gemara says that if a person wants to lose money, all of his money, he should simply allow his employees to do whatever they want. That is a perfect recipe to losing all of your money. How does a person succeed? The master of the house is insistent. He has to convince everybody that not only do they need to get on the right boat and on the right page and be motivated to do it, inspired to do it, but if possible, make them realize they need to do it. Not for you, not for the company, but for themselves. Because the reward they're getting is much greater than anything else they're imagining at this point. If a person understood the value of overcoming the arrogance, the very same arrogance that's keeping them sick, the very same arrogance that's keeping them in a difficult marriage, the very same arrogance that's keeping them single, the very same arrogance that's keeping them broke, the very same arrogance that keeps them simply intolerable by the Creator. If a person understood the value of the reward that they will get for overcoming that arrogance, they would realize that all of the difficulty, all of the so-called hard work is really a gift. It's nothing. It's as if you got it for free. Yeah, but you worked hard and you did this and you learned 7 pages there and 8 pages there and you did this and you fasted and you went there and you slept less. Yeah, that's all for free. Why? Because the reward is so great that whatever I had to do for it is literally as if I did nothing. There lies the difference between the Tzadikim and everyone else. Call them what you call them. The Tzaddikim knew all of what we call hard work, impossible work, is really a gift. It's really a gift. It's such a gift. It's such a gift that when you realize it's a gift, you start enjoying it. You start feeling it physically. You start yearning for it and caring less about the reward, because the work itself becomes the reward. But when a person simply focuses on, what do I get for this? What do I get for this? What am I going to get if I do this? What am I going to get if I do that? And listen, yeah, I know I couldn't work last week because I was sneezing and my stomach was achy and, and my foot and, my kid and, my car and, my toe and, his toe and her toe. And I saw this and I heard that and all those things that, rationalized and justified why I couldn't work for the last 6 months straight despite getting paid. You're going to pay me this month, right, Rabbi? It's not, you're a rabbi, you're gonna be nice to me and pay me too, right? Aren't you rich anyway? All of those excuses go in the garbage. Why? Suddenly you want to do it. Suddenly you're passionate about it. Because you realize, forget the reward, olam haba, heaven, all that great stuff. I need this. I need this. I need this. Why? Overcoming my arrogance, overcoming my stinginess, overcoming my anger, overcoming my whatever it is that's part of the servitude of Hashem. Doing that, I need it in order to live. I need it in order to see everything I have as a blessing. And all of a sudden, a person transforms their entire life into one big gift, into one big reward, because suddenly everything makes sense. Oh, there's difficulty? Okay, Baruch Hashem, difficulties are good. Gives us something to do. Oh, there's a Rasha? Oh, Baruch Hashem. So, at least we know Mashiach is not here yet. For a reason. Like when Rabbi Vadia, one of the Talmidim, said, Kvod Rav, I just found $1,000 in one of your books. Oh, Baruch Hashem, that now in Shemayim they can't say about me that I only forgot about Torah. At least don't know, I also forgot about money. All of a sudden, everything that you see, all the obstacles, all of the difficulties, it's a walk in the park. The difficult marriage, okay, so how do I fix it? Yeah, but for 10 years you didn't want to fix it. No, I wanted to fix it, but I wanted him to fix it. I wanted the heart to fix it. Now I'm asking you, can I fix it? Yeah, but don't you think they should fix it also? If they want to, they can fix whatever they want. I still need to do something. Why? I need to live. I need to live. All of a sudden, everything that we're encountering, that we hate, becomes something we encounter and we see as opportunities. The mitzvot are opportunities. Doing tzedakah, giving tzedakah, doing chesed, opportunity. Everything becomes an opportunity. Why? That is the fuel that gives us life. On the other hand, we can ignore everything I just said and be like Naaman before he did tshuva and got the cure and say, now what does this rabbi know? I have plenty of other places that give me other choices. You've had those places even before this talk. How are they working for you? Try this one. You'll see results. With that being said, I'm going to have a drink, and BeEzrat Hashem, you guys ask some questions. Okay, let's see. First question we have Eitan Dishi. Hi Eitan, Shalom Am Yisrael. I'm so proud to see good deeds being done in Israel, and Torah is being more spread. Baruch Hashem. Wishing much blessing to all of Am Yisrael. Baruch Hashem. Jeremy, how were Chazal able to fast for an insane amount of time? I know that the Baba Sali fasted Shabbat to Shabbat, but how did Rabbi Akiva do 40 days and Rabbi Tzadok? Was this a full fast, something like water fast? Okay, so if you go through the Gemara, you'll see many times that the human body has changed, where the strength of the human body has deteriorated drastically over the years, because in previous generations, not only were we physically different, but we were also spiritually different. And one of the things that you read in the Chazal is that Issachar and Zvulun, the deal between Issachar and Zvulun, is that one would learn Torah full time, and the other one would work and learn the basic necessity, but generally spend the time to work, and the money would be split among both of them. Right? That's the general thing that we know about Issachar and Zvulun. What the Midrash talks about also is that really the Issachar was concerned about losing his merits because he's now sharing it. He's sharing it with Zvulun because he's getting the money. So what did he do? He simply studied 24 hours without ever sleeping. Now, how could such a thing be? How could somebody study 24 hours a day and never sleep? Simple. He learned enough Torah, got himself elevated spiritually so high that the neshama became the dominant force, even more dominant than the body, that the resting that his body required was a rest that's different than the rest of society. Now again, this is not the norm and not even common, even among the greats. But the point being is we see that there are certain circumstances where the sages, where the avot, where certain people that lived are very, very different than us. Also in the Gemara it talks about how there was a fire, and one of the Tzadikim that was already an old man grabbed two full-grown men under his arms and ran with them to save them from a fire. Now, of course, everybody that thinks that this is simply some type of parable, it didn't really happen, sure, you can say as much as you want to say, but if you look at most of the commentaries, it talks about how it's actually, this is an event that took place, that the ability of this old man was much more superior than any strong man in the world today, even though he was older. Why? Because his neshama was much stronger than the neshama that a person has today, thereby giving his body a something that is viewed as impossible today. Another thing, we see that in the Gemara it talks about if somebody's a shepherd, and of course he goes into a big field, and and you have to determine where does your field end, how far is certain distances, and so on. And they said, it's as far as he can see. So the Gemara asks naturally, well, how far can he see? It says, the average person can see. What they give is something like 10 miles. 10 miles. I think it's 10 parsa or something like that, 10 miles. Something, that today is impossible even with binoculars. You can't do it most of the time. But in this case, an average person can see in those days, a distance that is literal. You need special equipment to see. But he was able to see it with his naked eyes. Showing again another example that the physiology of people, although they always had eyes, head, arms, legs, everything was the same, there was a certain difference between them and us. Not just taller, shorter, and so on, like Moshe Rabbeinu and the entire Levi tribe were all 10 amot, which is the equivalent of almost 20 feet, and they had to be that high. This is not an analogy or even something that's not 100% guaranteed, because according to the measurements of the Aron HaKodesh that they had to take with them from place to place, the only way for the Aron HaKodesh not to hit the floor is they would have to be 20, each one of the Levim carrying the Aron had to be 10 amot high, 10 amot tall, because how big the Aron HaKodesh was and where the bars were. Long story short is that, yes, there were bigger people there, but even the people that weren't necessarily bigger was still physically different than us. Needless to say, if those people were especially holy, and where they sanctified their neshama to the point where the neshama became the dominant force. For the rest of us in the world today, the regular people, the neshama is the inferior force as far as physically is concerned. It's the body that's really in control. But the more a person sanctifies themselves, the more powerful their neshama becomes, and in essence turns the body into simply like a robot, where it can do a lot of things that it can't do otherwise. It can't do otherwise. And there are many times that, different tzadikim showed how this can be. There's a time, like, for example, you mentioned the Baba Sali. Okay? So, the Baba Sali, when he went to Netivot, they got a house there, and he wanted to make a big salon, a big place where they have big festive meals. So he told his people, break all of the walls. Break all of the walls and just make sure there's a big place for us to have a festive meals. And he went and studied Torah. Yeah, went and studied Torah. The people working, but one of the big walls over there, doesn't matter, in Israel, everything is cement. They're working on this wall is not coming down. The whole day they're hitting it, nothing's happening. At the end of the day, the Baba Sali comes, after he finishes learning Torah and everything, he comes and he sees, the wall's still there. He goes, what happened? I thought you were going to hire people. He goes, no, I hired. Look, they're all here. This wall's not coming down. Baba Sali looks at it. Okay. He takes his stick, walking stick, and it's simple, just touches the wall. Just touches the wall. Takes it down. Goes, okay, now, come. No, come. One of the guy comes, go, no, take your hammer. What hammer? Take hammer, whatever hammer you want. What, you want me to get the big jackhammer? No, whatever hammer you have. What do you have on you? He goes, I have a regular hammer. Of course, take that hammer. Come, bring. Go, hit that wall. He goes, Rabbi, nothing works. He goes, it's going to work. No, hit. Go ahead, hit. The guy hits a tiny little hit. The entire wall falls. Why? Well, Basali touched it one time. All of these types of things are not necessarily just Kabbalistic super miracles. There are certain things that, where there was a certain sanctity to the Tzadikim, that they were able to do things that made their body much, much stronger, much more superior to what we have today, and that's why they were able to sleep much less. You have many stories about the Gaon Vilna only sleeping 2 hours a day or less. I mean, these tzaddikim, they were flesh and blood. Their body was made of the same cells and DNA, if you will, as everybody else, but they were able to sanctify their neshama to such an extent that the neshama became the much more dominant in them, which would make their body able to do things that we can't do unless the neshama becomes higher. And this is something that a person can see at different times of their life, even if they don't necessarily have a permanent feeling of pleasure from their Torah. And when they study, there are different times that if a person really toils in Torah, that Hashem gives the person a physical feeling from that Torah, that they could feel at different times of the day. They could feel while they're sleeping, but in reality, they're not sleeping because they're still studying in their sleep, like the stories of the Rav Kanievsky doing a Siyum Masechet while he was sleeping, or the Gaon Vilna that studied 80,000 years worth of Torah while he was sleeping, and all types of things that are seem to us as some fairy tale or something, but in reality these are real. A person can feel these things and do things while he's sleeping, but their body, the mind and the things are happening even more so than when they're awake, or they could actually have a physical feeling while they're actually awake and do certain things, like it says, do certain things that are not physically normal. I'll give you two examples that I know firsthand, and that's amazing. Okay, Rav Alimi, one of our Avrechim, he's the one that headed the Bnot Aliyah with all the girls in Eretz Yisrael. So Rav Alimi, he's been dealing with doing kiruv of kids that go off the derech for many years. And he has this organization also that he gets these groups, these kids, especially during the Ben Azmanim in Eretz Yisrael, a few hundred kids. And many times some of these kids are troubled, they get kicked out of yeshivot and so on. So he works with a lot of them. Anyway, there was one time, one guy that's big, strong, and annoyed, and didn't want to go back to yeshiva, didn't want to do nothing. And Rav Alimi was talking to him, and there was a group of guys, and of course, when you're with the guys, you make it even. He was hanging out with a bunch of bad guys, and there's more rah-rah there, so trying to make a big thing out of it. Now Rav Alimi is not he's not lifting weights or anything like that. He's a regular avrech. You see him, you see a regular person. You don't see someone that. Now this guy, after he left yeshiva, he started working out already for a few years, became like a beast. And Rav Alimi is trying to get him back to the yeshiva. So one of the people there makes the silly suggestion. Okay, listen, if you can beat him in arm wrestling, he'll go to yeshiva. Of course, everybody says, yeah, of course. And they start laughing because they see this simple little avrech. This little avrech that maybe didn't even eat in 2 days because he's chasing after Jews to help them do tshuva. And you see this monster, literally like a mini Hulk. On the other hand, yeah, of course, if you beat him. Now, if you ask Rav Alimi, did you ever arm wrestle in your life? He tell you no. How do we know he never arm wrestled in his life? Because he asked him, what is that? What's arm wrestling? Everybody starts laughing. Well, he doesn't know what arm wrestling is. No, I'm just asking, what's arm wrestling? I'll do it. If it's going to get you to yeshiva, I'll do it. Because, you're serious? You don't know what arm wrestling is? No, I don't know what arm wrestling is. I know what Torah is. I know mitzvot. I know Rashi, Tosfot, Halachot. That I know. Arm wrestling, I don't know. What's arm wrestling? Everybody's shocked that there's a person in the world that exists that doesn't know what arm wrestling is. He says, arm wrestling is, he sits on one side and he has his hand. You sit on the other side. You have your hand. You guys join hands. And now the job is to take the other guy down. Okay, fine. So what happens? So I have to let him take me down? He goes, no, Rabbi. You have to take him down. So if I take him down, he's going to come to yeshiva? Yeah. Okay, fine. Sure. Pele playing. Sit there, got Hulk on one side, little Ravalimi on the other side, who just learned what arm wrestling is. You say, hold on one second. Ravalimi does a little closing the eyes kind of prayer. All of a sudden they start. A few seconds later, the guy's in yeshiva. Shtabach shimo la'ad. The guy's in yeshiva. Yeshiva is still the yeshiva to this day. Avrich. How? They ask, because I don't know what arm wrestling is. So how did you do it? I pray to Hashem. Pray to Hashem. Hashem made arm wrestling something I know how to do. Pray to Hashem. Another story. This story you're never going to hear anywhere else, but today, Baruch Hashem, you put me in a good mood, I'll give you the story. This is one of those stories that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it answers your question. Young man, used to be in yeshivot, used to be in yeshiva, left everything, went to the secular world and so on, went to the army, became a big hero. After army, ran into Rabbi Efraim and a couple of avrichim near one of these, I don't know, I guess it was like a community pool of some kind. And Rabbi Efraim was still a young man. He was maybe 16 years old, something like that. And this guy was older. He was 20 years old already. And there was a couple of other Bachurim Yeshiva. And he's laughing at them. Oh, you guys in Yeshiva, you're wasting your time. Look at me, I got stronger, I'm going to make money, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Of course, most of the Bachurim in the Yeshiva, they're very frail and, they don't want to fight with these people. In reality, they know, okay, so you're strong, what can we do? We are strong with our mind. Rabbi Efraim didn't like that. So hold on a second. What, you think because what? Because I learned Torah, you're stronger than me? He said, of course I am. Look, I went to the army, I trained, and this, and that. He goes, what makes you think, how do you know? He goes, I'll take, I'll compete. Because how are we going to compete? He goes, we'll go in the pool. And I'll race you. Well, Efraim says, okay. And what, if I win? If I win the race, what happens? He goes, I'll go back to yeshiva. I'll go back to kollel. Well, Efraim said, okay, fine, let's go. He goes, when do you want to do it? Just right now. Now, Rabbi Efraim, big swimmer? No. Only reason he learned how to swim, because his father is a Talmid Chacham, and it says in the Torah that you have to teach your son to swim. So he learned how to swim. But as far as competitively, regularly, annually even, non-existent. He just learned to swim at one point in his life when he was a kid. This guy, he was like some type of commando in the army, but in the part that actually has to do with swimming on a regular basis. That's why he was going to the pool. It's like his life, the pools. So, of course, there's a lot of rah-rah. You have a little Bachur Yeshiva, little Rabbi Efraim, and you have this Gibor, professional army swimmer. Everybody's laughing. This is a joke. What is he doing? Why are you embarrassing? Efraim goes in there. Okay, when do we go? Competition. When are you ready to go to yeshiva? He goes, no, what yeshiva? We got to do the race yet. Oh, okay, fine. No, let's do the race. Ready, set, go. The guy's in yeshiva. He's in kollel to this day. Shtabach shemolad. Kollel, yeshiva, till this day. After the race, they ask Rabbi Efraim, little bachur yeshiva, how do you know how to swim? Because I don't know how to swim. I learned how to swim when I was a kid. Wait, you don't swim every week? No, it's the first time I see a pool in years. So how do you know you're going to win? Because of course I'm going to win. How did you know? Because it's going to help him do tshuva. What do you mean Hashem is going to make me lose? I pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please make me swim so I can get him back to your Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu made me swim. Now, does this make any sense to somebody that's new to the world of Torah or simply removed from it? Absolutely not. But these are things that happen, and there are many stories I can tell you, that happen, that are physical, tangible miracles you see with your own hands, and you see with your own eyes, and sometimes experience with your own hands, that are, Baruch Hashem, unbelievable. Why? There are certain times that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes miracles. There are certain times that a person's neshama gets stronger and becomes more superior over their body. And in essence, the body becomes like piece of, like a robot. It just does whatever you want it to do. So there are all types of things that I can tell you from my own personal experience, that something that Baruch Hashem have had the siyata dishmaya to do it. And again, I was very naive when I first started doing this. When I first started doing kiruv and giving lectures and so on, I first started doing kiruv by not doing lectures. I was doing kiruv by helping Rabbi Efraim publicize his shiurim, building a YouTube channel, a Facebook page, helping Rabbi Mizrahi, and doing things like that, giving out packages. And eventually, at some point, after a few years, I started speaking. And now, as I started speaking and becoming more, having an audience, during the first year, I guess it was, they came Oshana Rabbah. Now, for the first time in my life, I had Oshana Rabbah where I have students. So I tell my Rabbi Efraim, okay, what do I do? He says, you're supposed to learn all night. So I took it as, you're supposed to learn all night. That means I have to give a shiur all night. I said, okay, fine. Okay. All right. And that's it. That was the conversation. So I tell everybody, okay, guys, we're going to have a shiur. When? On Shana Rabbah. Okay, fine. So we go where I think we're at Aventura Shul over there. I don't think it's there anymore. It's a Breslev. I give a shiur for 8 hours straight. 8 hours straight. I'm standing, giving a shiur, talking for 8 hours straight. Now, if you've never spoken in your life, it seems like, oh wow, it's pretty cool. But if you're a speaker and you see somebody speak for 8 hours and it actually makes sense and it's all brand new stuff and it's not like repeating the same thing over and over again or telling just like nonsensical stories, you're actually bringing chidushim, Torah, and so on. You're seeing somebody speak for 8 hours straight without preparation, it weakens you. Why? You have no idea how that's humanly possible. Now, at that time, I didn't think there was anything a big deal out of it. He told me I have to learn all night, so I'll do a shiur for 8 hours. What's the big deal? So we did a shiur for 8 hours. After I finished, everybody there was making a big deal out of it. How did you do it? How did this? How did that? I said, oh, well, I thought we were supposed to do for more, but it's already time to pray. I have no idea that this is even a big deal. Then somebody asked me, oh, how did you stand up for so much time? I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it. Then all of a sudden, I started getting weaker and tired. I didn't think about being tired for 8 hours. Now that he asked me about how am I standing for 8 hours straight, now that I thought about it, I got tired and exhausted. Like literally in a second. While I was learning, it didn't exist. And this became an annual thing. Annually, Baruch Hashem, to this day, every year, we give a shiur for 8, 9 hours. I think one year we did even longer. Whatever it was, Baruch Hashem, every year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sanctifies us with new miracles to do something that is not necessarily possible, not necessarily normal, especially without preparation. You know, there is one speaker out there. I don't think he's necessarily like a regular speaker, but he's somebody that's a rabbi of a community. I believe he's out of California. We prepared and so on to give a shiur for, I don't know, I think like 20 hours or something ridiculous, like some really, really long amount of time. And somebody, brought it to my attention one time. He says, why don't you try to do this? I said, BeEzrat Hashem, maybe one day we'll do something like that. Maybe we'll do something to do like a campaign of some kind and do a really long shiur if necessary. But to speak for a long time to myself doesn't obviously make any sense. But the point is that how did he do it? And he doesn't do it every single day. Surely there's he trained. I don't really know him, so I don't know exactly what he did, but surely there is a certain element of sanctity that was put into him to be able to do certain things. Now, of course, that same sanctity is not necessarily always everywhere else. You have certain people that are goyim, complete goyim, that have world records of, I think the longest speech out there is something like a few days or some ridiculous amount of time, 100 and something hours. I think it's like 4 or 5 days or 6 days of speaking. And again, this is a world record that some guy in India has, And of course, there is Hashem gives certain people certain abilities, but when you're asking about things that are given to certain people that train for a marathon, for some type of athletic, usually there's a certain amount of physical training that's required. Whereas when you see it in the Torah world, it comes without training, without preparation, without even knowledge of whether you're even capable of doing this. And there's also another big story of one of the Chachamim that was trying to get one of the former Talmidim that left the world of Torah to come back. And this person spent a lot of time playing chess and became a chess master. And the rabbi came to him and says, no, come back to this. You can use this brain that you're spending on chess to be a big scholar, Talmid Chacham. And he laughed about it. He goes, nah, this is better, this is this. And then said jokingly, I'll do it if you beat me. And the rabbi looked at him and said, beat you in what? He says, this. He said, fine, let's do it. He goes, when do you want to do it? He goes, right now. Fine. Sat down, and the rabbi beat him in chess. Now this guy was like a world champion of some kind, and he didn't know his rabbi knew chess that well. After he beat him, and he realized that he has to change his entire life now to keep his word, he asked the rabbi, he goes, when do you have time, rabbi, to learn to be such a chess master? And the rabbi tells him, to tell you the truth, I didn't know how to play until today. When today? During the game I learned. I saw what you do, so I did the same thing. What do you mean did the same thing? He said, before the game started, I had no idea what it is that you're doing here with this chess. I don't have time to play chess. But I saw what you do with the moves, so I followed the same things. But the difference is that before I did all that, I prayed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your son is about to go to Gehenom. He's about to destroy his life and eternity and all the descendants after him. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, use me to play this silly game with him so I can bring him back to the yeshiva. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did. So that supernatural ability gave him another neshama and a long line of righteous people that came from him due to that miracle. That was, again, something that is not your everyday type of miracle, but nonetheless, it exists. It exists in the world, Baruch Hashem. Next question. Ask how there's so many neshamot in a goof if millions of people do zera levatala. I'm not really following what the question is. How there's so many neshamot in the goof? Oh, you mean the spiritual body called goof? If millions of people do zera levatala, should there be none left? So each time the seed is wasted, that neshama doesn't come to the world per se. It's something that some of it goes back to the goof, some of it stays here, creates different things, and also this is a very elaborate part. The Arizal says that the basic foundation of understanding reincarnation and Kabbalah is understanding that a neshama can split into an infinite amount of pieces. An infinite amount of pieces, no different than if you have like one candle and then that's lit, and then 1,000,000 candles in front of you, and you can light every single one of those 1,000,000 candles, and your original candle will not change whatsoever. It will never go down in fire, even if you used it to light 1,000,000 other candles. So the neshama itself can split into infinite amount of pieces. And in essence, the neshama itself, the ability and to function and so on, doesn't change. This is how we also understand when Cain and Abel, they were the first two children of Adam Arishon, and Cain killed Abel, and they had to reincarnate. So Arizal says in Shara Gilgulim that Abel reincarnated as Noach, and then later on Noach had to reincarnate again because to complete his Tikkun, and Noach reincarnated as Moshe Rabbeinu. Whereas Cain, on the other hand, Cain he reincarnated. He had to do a tikkun for murdering Abel. So he reincarnated into 3 people in the same generation that lived in the same lifetime. The Egyptian that Moshe killed. The Egyptian that Moshe killed in order to do a tikkun for murder that he did. He had to get killed, but not just killed, but killed by Abel, which is Moshe. Okay, he also had to reincarnate as Yitro, because he had to do a tikkun because he killed Abel because he was jealous over a woman, the wife, the second wife of Abel. So because of that, he had to do a tikkun for taking his wife, and now he had to give him a wife. He had to give Abel a wife. So Yitro gave Tzipora, his daughter, to Moshe, and he also reincarnated as Korach because he was became a heretic. But that that was the part that he wasn't able to fix and actually got worse. And later on, reincarnated again, eventually as Yeshu, and so on. But the point being is that from there we see that somebody could actually reincarnate, an original neshama can reincarnate into not only multiple people, but multiple people that are living in the same exact time. Multiple. So now you're going to ask, of course, wait, if multiple people are living at the same time and 2 parts fix and 1 part doesn't fix, or all 3 parts fix, which one of them comes back? Oh, that's a very elaborate part. Long story short is the best one out of all the reincarnation, that's the one that comes back in the resurrection of the dead. That's the one that comes back. Next, Eitan Dishi is asking, there are many rectifications being done for Tikkun HaBRIT happening too, and there's a sod to that as well. Thank you. Dennis asking, how does memorizing a thing by heart work, or rather, how should it properly be done? Do the Gedolei Ador memorize through reviewing things so many times and understanding them so well it comes as mere a byproduct? Is it inefficient use of time, or dafka spent on pure memorization? No, so there is a memory strategies that are mentioned by the sages. In fact, there's one section in that Rabbi Efraim wrote in one of his Sfarim about in Achtov L'Yisrael that of different strategies to help a person memorize things that were taught by the sages, aside from the obvious of reviewing and reviewing things and praying for it and doing things like that. There's also other memory strategies. You'll see in the Gemara there are times where you use acronyms for entire statements. That's one of the ways that the sages memorized entire teachings. By simply memorizing, 3, 4, or 5 letters. They'll memorize an entire teaching, entire body of knowledge by memorizing a few letters. There is a going over the material. There is a lot of different things that a person can do to memorize, but the biggest thing that for memory is a mesirut nefesh, meaning you have to toil over the Torah and put your life on it in order to earn the merit to have divine assistance in your Torah learning. That's more than anything else. You need divine assistance. You need siyata dishmaya to memorize things. There are strategies to help a person memorize. There are many strategies, some that are brought even by non-Jews and secular people that know how to teach a person to memorize. But there are specific lessons taught by the sages of how to memorize that are very useful. But again, the biggest thing is to know that it all has to come from Hashem, and to memorize things it definitely requires effort. It's not something that comes naturally to people, and it's not something that necessarily comes to everybody the same, meaning that you hear me say certain things, and mention quotes and mention verses or mention pages of different things. This is also partly because I've mentioned it many other times in the past, or I've gone over the material. But more than anything else, it's not that I have such a good memory, but rather because it's simply siyata dishmaya. It's the crowd that's listening that has merit, that Hashem wants me to remember this particular thing at this particular time. And that's more valuable than anything else. It's the merit of the crowd. So it's important for a person to know that to know Torah, you have to and memorize it and so on. You have to bring benefit to the public. It has to be beneficial for Hashem to give you that memory. If a person learns Torah only for his own sake, the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says he's like a person that does not have a God. A person that learns Torah just for his own sake. But if a person learns Torah in order to benefit the public, where he's going to teach other people, his family, if he has students or gets students and so on, that person is a person that could become very important in the world. But a person that learns Torah just for his own sake, for himself, doesn't want to share it, doesn't care about anybody else, it wants to stimulate his own mind and so on, the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah says he's like a person who doesn't have a God. I believe it's page 17b. So point is that you have to have a special assistance from Hashem, and that assistance comes due to a person's merit. But there, even with that merit, there is a certain amount of ishtadlut, effort that a person has to have in order to learn these memory strategies. Now, this particular write-up that Rabbi Efraim wrote, it's all in Hebrew. So, I mean, if anybody knows how to speak Hebrew, I can more than happy to send them to you and tell you where it is in the book. You could look it up and read it. But it's not in English for those of us that, for those people that don't know how to speak English. Charlie, can someone bedridden who has either a pouch or a diaper do a daily prayer? So it's important for a person to know that if a person is, gets to a certain part of their life where they have a pouch or they have they're not able to control themselves. This creates certain limitations that are very difficult to deal with, but it does not eliminate their ability to pray. What they have to simply do is they have to do it as soon as they're clean. As long as there's no filth on them itself, the gdolim, the number two, and there's nothing that's creating a stench, then they can pray, they can learn Torah, they can do everything. But if they have the fecal matter on them and so on, then they can't. In fact, there's just to give you one example, I just learned this week on one of our Tzadikim, Rosh Kolel Rav Sharvit. He's a very, very special person. And again, Tzadikim are usually underrated, understated, and you never know these things about them until you find out through a back alley proof. So anyway, Rav Efraim, attends the shul, that is where our kollel is, once in a while, and most of the time he goes there. It's called Rav Kaduri's shul. It's the building itself, the shul itself, is ancient. It's even before than the founding of the modern state of Israel. It's over 100 years old, that shul, and or about 100 years old, something like that. And anyway, Rav Sharvit, our Rosh Kolel, is the one that's running it and so on. But the guy that's been like the gabai of the place and running it even before Rav Sharvit is this old man that is probably now close to 90 years old. Now, this guy, for many, many years, kept the place on. They would typically only have a minyan on Shabbat, and the rest of the week it was closed. And it was only when we came into the picture and started the kollel and so on that they now have, Baruch Hashem, a prayer every day, and Avrichim learning there every day, and so on. And Rav Sharvit is our Rosh Kolel that runs it. And Baruch Hashem, we try to make sure that everybody has everything that they need. We pay them handsomely to make sure that they study and without having any financial issues. And Baruch Hashem, there are some smart people that help us by donating some money to sponsor an avrech for a week, for a month, for 2 months. They do it through our website or something. They send a check. And Baruch Hashem, but some of the stories that you get from the shiurim, it's sometimes they have to you have to have siyata dishmaya to remember them or to experience them. So I'll tell you a story that happened this week. So Rabbi Efraim noticed that for the last 3 weeks, every night, there was been the minyan breaks up. Like he comes to shul, he sees that there's 4 people there. And then something happens and they leave. For Arvit, not the morning prayer, the night prayer. Then a few minutes later, another, 3 or 4 people come. And something happens and they leave. Like nobody waits. Nobody waits. And it's like this for 3 weeks straight already. And he's not sure why can't they get a minyan. And then he noticed something. That every night, Rav Sharvit is praying alone in a corner, and the old man that's been running the shul, he's praying, and he says, the prayers as if there's a minyan. He verifies a few things, checks a few things. What's really transpiring here? Rav Sharvit is such a tzaddik. He's such an amazing person that a few weeks ago, this old man had some stomach problems, and he had a surgery that he had to, in essence, do that. He has a pouch now, so the waste from his body goes into this pouch, and which creates a certain smell. So now you can't, if there's a smell, you can't pray or next to that. But now he's been running the shul for all these years, and he doesn't want this guy to get embarrassed that people can't pray there because of him. So it's going to hurt him. At the same token, you can't pray there. So what does he do? So what does Rav Sharvit do behind the scenes for the last few weeks? Very simple. Very simple. Every time people come, he has the old man is sitting there waiting for the minyan. He waits for the rabbi to tell him when to start. Couple of minutes, he goes to the people, goes, no, it's not going to be a minyan here tonight. He doesn't tell them why. It's not going to be a minyan here tonight. Okay, they leave. The next group comes. They stay for like a minute. Rav Sharvit comes, makes some type of emotions for them. It's not going to be a minyan here tonight. Go somewhere else. Okay, so they leave. And that's what he's been doing for almost a month. Just so the old man doesn't get offended that there's no minyan because of him. He doesn't know this is the case. But Baruch Hashem, and he's never going to know. He doesn't watch YouTube. He doesn't watch on the internet. So I'm not concerned about that. And this is mamash how concerned a tzaddik really is about the feelings of a fellow Jew. Now in reality, he can tell the old man, listen, I'm sorry to tell you, we can't do it. You have to be in a certain part of the room, or come later, or come earlier, or something. We have to, no, chas v'shalom. That means he's missing praying with the minyan himself, but he stays with the old man every single night and so on. Now, you say, oh, this is a lot. Let me tell you, if I told you, would you prefer to go clean an old man for a couple of years in order to cure cancer? Would you do it? Average person say, sure. Let me tell you something. Famous story of another avrech that's a personal friend of Rabbi Efraim, meaning first-hand information, not fairy tale. First-hand information. There was an old man that was going to the Beit Knesset. Guy was probably 80 or something years old, and at some point lost his ability to control his body. Misken, poor guy. And now it was so bad, they would literally do his thing in the shul, like at any given moment, meaning they're in the middle of prayer, something happens, everybody has to, leave. It was a disaster. One of the avrechim, the avrech tzaddik, he sees this. He decides he's going to make this old man that he never met in his life, doesn't even know his name, he's going to become his personal project. His personal project. What's he going to do? From now on, I'm going to take you and I'm bathe you and take care of you every day. And every day, go with this old man, take him, bathe him, clean him, whatever was necessary to make sure he's okay, because he didn't have any family, anybody to help him, nothing. And that's what he was doing. Literally cleaning this old man, the poor guy. Now, of course, sounds great. Listen to what happened. This went on for, I think, like 2 or 3 years. Long time. No money, nothing. Simply a mitzvah. Mitzvah from, Gan Eden or something. I don't know. I don't know anybody in the world other than the Tzadikim that I know in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know anybody like that in over here, but I'm sure they exist. I just don't know them. Anyway, this Tzadik takes care of this old man. And it's not like he's 15, 18 years old, has nothing to do with his life. He's married with kids and everything. So he takes this old man, makes him into a project that he takes care of every night. Long story short, after a few years, the old man dies, gets buried. Shortly after he dies, the Avrech gets stomach pains. And he goes to the doctor. After they suggest immediate checking, colonoscopy, all types of CAT scans and so on. Hashem Yishmor, the doctors come out sweating bullets with horrible news. We're sorry. We don't know if you realize, but you don't have much time to live. It could be any day, but it's the cancer is spread all over the stomach or area, everywhere. It's a matter of days before you die. Literally, something like horrific, like horrible, horrible news. Like not just horrible, but the horrible is horrible. The poor guy, his wife, kids. What do? He goes to the kever, to the grave of the old man. The old man. He comes, he prays there, cries over there. He says, you were in this world and I took care of you. I took care of you, didn't ask for nothing for a few years. Now you're in Shamayim. Please, go pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for me to give me a chesed, to give me a cure. And he cries over there. After he finished crying, he goes back to the doctor. Yes? What can we do for you? You want to admit yourself? He goes, no, I want to check again. Check what? I want to check my body again. What do you mean? We just checked. Yeah, I want to check again. Of course, everybody's confused, but I want to check. Check, fine. The guy's miserable, misguy, and they're thinking this guy's a walking dead man. So, okay, check, fine. They go check. Pele Plaim, wonder of wonders. Nothing. Gone. Same day. Everything's gone. Nothing. Not a sign even of any cancer cell. Nothing. The doctors are amazed. They do another check because they think it's a mistake. They look at something that they just reviewed. It's not like they just made a mistake in the files. They look, it's the same. Nothing. This is miracle. It's like, we have not. What is this? What do you do here? I did nothing. Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu will do whatever he wants. So if somebody told you, you go help help some old strange man, some tzaddik, for free, but it's really not for free. Why? Because it's going to save your life. Would you do it? So, it's easy to do it after you know the outcome. The difference is these people got those outcome because they didn't care about the reward. That's the difference. Robert is asking, my daughter asked, in the Torah, is there something special about bulls, since many stories involve that particular animal, such as the golden calf, the bull that represents Yosef, the sacrifices? Yes, there is something special about the bulls. Bulls are used for sacrifice. Bulls are used for all the things, because bulls are the kings of the cattle. The throne of glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the four kings, if you will, many kings, not him obviously. He's the king of kings. That's why he's called the king of kings. But he has four kings of creation as the images on his throne of glory. One of them is the eagle, the king of the birds. One of them is the lion, which is the king of the animals. One of them is the bull, king of the cattle. And then one of them is Yaakov Avinu, men. So there's actual image of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was exceptionally beautiful, like something out of this world, only second in beauty to Adam HaRishon. The beauty that Yaakov had was something out of this world, and when the angels saw him, they could not understand how is this in this world, but at the same time on the Kisei HaKavod, the throne of glory of God. And that's why it says, Olim v'yordim bo. They go up, they go down. They go up, they go down. Because they kept going up, they saw Yaakov. They went down, they saw Yaakov. It's something that was, his beauty was like literally something like supernatural. That's how beautiful he was. And it was something out of this world. And anyway, that was his image. So the bull is one of those creatures that is on the Kisei HaKavod, which gives it a certain type of strength, certain type of value in the world. But also why it was the Sitra Achra would use it as something as to destroy. But the point being is that it's these images also where we learn why we're not allowed to have those animals and a full human corpse, human torso. As a as a statue, we're not allowed to look. If you have, let's say, for example, a statue of a sculpture, I should say, a sculpture of let's say, I don't know, what is it? Let's say a parrot, no problem. You have a sculpture of a parrot, big, small, no problem. You have a sculpture of a I don't know, monkey, no problem. If you have a sculpture of a lion, or a sculpture of an eagle, or a sculpture of a human being, full sculpture, not just the head, full sculpture of a human being, full sculpture of a full body of a bull, then you have a problem. It's not allowed for a Jew. So if somebody already has it, they could either simply destroy it, throw it out, or they could just destroy part of it, meaning you could break the ear or the eyes, or make some significant breakage in it when you keep you're not owning something that's complete. But when I found this out, this is I guess 12 years ago or so, I used to have a collection of bulls and eagles sculptures. Like not a big collection, but I had a bunch. I had a bunch of them because I was on Wall Street. So the two favorite, two of the favorite animals, there's bulls, there's bears, and then there's eagles. Very common Wall Street business, entrepreneur. That's all you look at any of these magazines or stores that sell these sculptures for, that are very expensive. It's bull, bear, and lion, and eagle. Like literally, it's like 3 out of 4 here. So I had two of them. I had the bull and I had the eagle, but a bunch of them. Immediately when I heard this, I was on the phone. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was living on 15 Broad Street on Wall Street, which is across the street from the New York Stock Exchange, on the 35th floor. And I'm on the phone with Rabbi Efraim on one of our 7-hour phone calls. Okay, this is years ago. So anyway, I'm on the phone, and Rabbi Efraim teaches me this, that, you're not allowed to have sculptures of this. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Rabbi, do you just say I'm not allowed to have sculptures? He goes, yeah. He goes, what do we have sculptures? He has no idea. I'm like, yeah, well, what kind of sculptures I can't have? He says, eagle, and, wait, hold on a second. Eagle? You say eagle? He's like, yeah. I'm like, hold on. I get a garbage bag. Literally, I was like, mamash, like I was like inspired. And it's not, I'm already into it for a little while already at this point. I'm inspired. I'm on the phone with him. I get a garbage bag. Big garbage bag. I go into my room. I'm on the phone with him and the thing. I'm like, okay, eagle. Where? I'm looking in my closet. Eagle. Pah! $5,000. Pah! $3,000. I'm taking in the garbage can. I'm like, what else, Rabbi? He says to me, a lion. I'm like, oh, lion. Oh, lion. Hey, $200. Hey, what else? What else? A human. I'm like, oh, I don't have any. Okay, what else? He goes, bull. I look at the phone like something hit me, like, because I have a bunch of them. Literally, I had, I don't know, like a half a dozen or more bulls. I had a bunch of bulls. And I said my phone, like, okay, I had some bull that was from like Peru or something. Like something that somebody made, a collectible, whatever. It went in the garbage that night. That night it went into the garbage, no questions asked. He tells me, no, listen, you don't have to throw them if you don't want. If it's a big loss, maybe you could just break. I'm like, nah, I don't want none of this in my life. Nothing. If it's idol worship, if it's not allowed, I don't want it. And that's, sometimes a person needs to push themselves and be inspired to just realize that all the money in the world is worthless. It's really worthless. They're all tools to simply do the will of Hashem. And when a person really is motivated by the to do the right thing, it becomes much easier for them to do the right thing. But when a person tries to live in both worlds, one leg in, one leg out, it becomes very difficult. So good question. Okay, next question. Shalom, Rabbi. I heard someone saying that you should not a deck of cards in the house because of klipot and tuma in the cards. Is this true? Because my family likes to play card games for fun on Shabbat afternoon. Card games, if you're talking about the 52 cards where you have the ace and the jack and the queen and so on, yeah, you definitely should not have those. Certainly there's klipot, also because those images come from the source of it is problematic, with the queen and the king and the prince. There's a certain connection to Christianity, idolatry, and all types of problematic things. Plus, it's typically connected to gambling. But you can get kosher cards. What are kosher cards? Get, Uno, or get cards that are numbers, or there are different card games that don't necessarily need to be the 52 cards that they use in a casino. You could use other cards that don't have the queen and the jack and all these other things. Simply, you could play war with different cards. You could play card games with different cards. It doesn't have to be those same things. And that will resolve the problem. I've got internet protection for adult, non-modest things called Internet Rimon. Thank Hashem. Thank you. My cousin is into artificial intelligence. He claims that machines can take over the world if we don't stop them. I responded that Hashem only gave free will to humans, and it can never happen. He said this is true, but machines can take over, and his interpretation of the Torah is different from mine. How do I respond to him? Respond to him that en od milvado. There's nothing else but HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that runs the world. Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. And how do we know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do? Based on what he wrote, he will do. And he wrote all of the prophecies that will happen in the future before Mashiach comes, already in the Torah, and you will never find a single place in the Torah that talks about how artificial intelligence takes over the world. You're never going to find any of that. The only place you find that is in movies from Hollywood. Now, if you continued learning Torah alongside watching movies in Hollywood, surely you're going to have the same distorted truth that is really false. But if you eliminate Hollywood and you simply purify your mind and your neshama with only Torah, little by little you will eliminate these warped ideas that are destroying you and eliminating all of your real imagination. The real imagination of a person is destroyed as a result of the movies and the secular stuff that they read. It's not expanded. And I think I explained a little part of it in the past and also part of it yesterday of how the imagination is destroyed by Hollywood films and shows and so on, due to the fact that they, when they show you something, regardless of how spectacular it is, it's still something that's quantifiable, that's comprehensible, that's something that you could fathom and put together. But in reality, the miracles of Hashem, such as the Exodus itself, is not quantifiable, it's not comprehensible, it's not something you can fathom. It's something that's beyond human logic, and you have to be there to truly understand it. And the reason why the sages and the chachamim and the avrechim and the little kids that learn Torah today are fascinated by the Exodus is because they have not tainted their mind with the filth and the tumah of Hollywood that limited the Exodus to something that's quantifiable and fathomable and reachable. They have left their imagination unhindered and unlimited, and really when they think of the Exodus, they think of something that is as extraordinary as can possibly be imagined. When you look at all of these movies, they're going to tell you that robots will take over the world at some point. Then they'll tell you that werewolves or vampires will take over. Then they'll tell you that there's certain new world order is going to take over, a bunch of scary rich old people that live to 1 million or something. Or they're going to tell you some other ancient tribe's going to take over. All of that is garbage. All of it is garbage, garbage, garbage. You want to know what's going to happen? Go learn Torah without ruining it by the filth. It's just like making a beautiful dish that you worked on all day and all night. If you put just a little bit of the remains of some bird or some pig on the food, it ruins the whole dish. Same thing with the films and the Hollywood. If you put that on top of the Torah, then it ruins everything. So the minute that he eliminates that garbage from his life, that will allow his mind to start seeing the truth for what it is. So that's really the only answer that's available. There's really no other answer that would help him. Now, again, as far as seeing the truth of what will be, there's plenty of prophecies of what's going to be. You go to Zechariah chapter 14, Ezekiel 38, chapter 38. There's plenty of prophecies over there that talk about the world, the end of the world, and how there's going to be atomic and biological weapons that will cause people to melt, and their eyes to pour like liquid, and their skin to melt, and so on and so forth. All these different scary things, but it does not talk about anything to do with artificial intelligence taking over the world, because it will not. It only takes over the world of people that allow it to take over the world, which is in their mind. In their mind. And those people are already under the control of artificial intelligence, not physically, but mentally. They already live under that conspiracy that's in their mind, just like people that spend all of their time watching conspiracy theories and all types of UFOs and so on. They already live like they're under attack. They already live with the fear that there's a UFO behind their wall or watching them. They already live like there's some type of secret government that's watching them. They already live like somebody is cheating on them or somebody's this. They already live. People that allow their mind to be tainted by these things, by these, already start living as if those things happened. Okay, the alien abductions and the attack by some, vampire, or the secret government conspiracy doesn't happen to normal people that focus on what needs to happen and learn Torah and do mitzvot and so on. It happens to people that already are interested in that, already delve into it, already spent an obsessive amount of time into it to get themselves into the point where they start living a new reality, a false reality, but a new reality where they start believing that not only is there secret government and secret aliens and secret departments and secret vampires and secret artificial intelligence and all types of things, especially if they find some element of truth to what they're conspiring, and they start living as if they are under attack by one of these so-called forces. And it's very sad because it's very hard to get those people out, without like a serious, overhaul of tshuva, like some massive tshuva, something apocalyptic. I'm familiar with conspiracy theories. I'm familiar with a lot of things. I've reviewed a lot of things in my life, whether it be the World Trade Center or other conspiracies out there. I'm very familiar with them, and I'm not talking to you out of my cuff. I'm telling you, I understand it. I understand people that have lost their mind. I understand people that make millions on the back of people that are following their stupidity, and I can assure you that not a single one of those people that are conspiracy theories or whatever UFO chasers, not a single one of them has a decent life. Not in this world, and needless to say, not in the next world. But the avrechim, the bachurei yeshiva, the people that are seriously frum and serve Hashem, all of them have a good life here and in the next world. All of them, even with the difficulties, they have a good life. So it does not pay to ruin your mind with all this junk and start living under this false pretense. It's simply not real. And if you continue watching the news and every tweet that one of these crazy billionaires makes about how the world is going to go here and the world is going to go there, these people, their ego is so big, they assume that they'll live to see the day. They don't even realize that it could be the next time they go to the bathroom, they're not going to make it. Bathroom, they may not make it. They may not make it out of the bathroom. But again, everybody thinks they're going to live forever. So stop wasting your time with all these conspiracies, learn Torah, and clean your mind. That's the answer. Can you use a new pot on Pesach if you are unable to bring it to the mikveh right away and have in mind to immerse in their future? No, you have to take it to the mikveh first. I mean, there is a way to make your pot that you didn't dip into a mikveh allowed, but I wouldn't recommend it. Take it to the mikveh. And it's the reason why I'm not telling you how to do it. I don't like to tell people things that they can do, and I don't really I don't really recommend people to do it and start relying on leniencies that are unnecessary and many times problematic. Okay. In the bedtime Shema, we pronounce every night that we forgive anyone that hurt us. And then we say, I forgive every Jew. May no man be punished because of me. Who are included in this people we forgive. Also, wicked people who sin against Hashem? No. You're people that are sinful but not intentional sinners. Not intentional. Regular people that are not intentional sinners. Not like a heretic that's distorting the Torah intentionally and stuff like that. People that are regular people. Or, well, I guess not regular, but people that are trying to do their best. Steve is asking, if a man is assumed impotent, is he allowed to try to get tested by providing a sperm sample? Is there any difference in halacha for a Jew and a non-Noahide? Okay, so as far as getting sperm samples, you should know that generally speaking, every test that I'm familiar with that that needs to be done for this type of thing can be done with a blood sample. It doesn't need a sperm sample anymore. Technology's advanced far enough where you no longer need the sperm sample. You could do everything with blood. So that's one. On the rare occasion that a person has a circumstance where they have to use sperm, then it's if they're a Noahide, it's allowed, but if they're a Jew, they have to get permission, and it depends on what the test is. And the test itself has to be conducted in a certain way, which is not, this is not the ideal place to talk about. But the point is that there is a way to do it, but it's not. It's only as a last resort. Put it that way. Only as a last resort. Who does a convert Baal Tshuva walk down with for their wedding? I mean, Baal Tshuva can walk down to their wedding with their parents if they want. If they're already Jewish, they can walk down with their parents, and so does the convert can walk down with their parents, unless their parents are against the Torah, idol worshippers, or so on. Or they just simply don't want to walk down with their parents. They can walk down with somebody else, whoever they want. They can walk down with their sibling. They can walk down with their rabbi. I know that on a couple of occasions that Baruch Hashem had the merit to wed off some of my kids, some of my students, that they had me walk them down the aisles a couple of times, it's obviously a great honor. You don't ask for it, but if somebody asks you to do it, you do it. But in other cases, I've had people ask me to do something and wanted to give me a certain honor, and I knew that there was somebody else. There was the rabbi of the Keilah or something like that, and I would tell him to give it to somebody else because I knew that the rabbi would get offended if I got the honor or something like that. So, but either way, a person that's getting married can walk down the aisle with typically with their parents. If they have parents, if they don't have parents, then it would be with anybody else that they want. It could be their rabbi, it could be their friend, or it could just be they don't walk down the aisle. Walking down the aisle is not an obligation. Walking down the aisle is something that is a custom and not even a common custom among Am Yisrael. So you could just simply start everything on the at the chuppah. At the chuppah. I mean, I know there's a few guys that I had that the guys did not walk down the aisle. Only the girl did. The guy just simply waited at the chuppah. So it's a preference thing. It's a preference, but either way, you can choose whoever you want to walk you down the aisle. Any quick tip to pray with more kavanah? As far as praying with more kavanah, number one, go to the shiur that I made about prayer in the Igeret Ramban series. Igeret Ramban series, there's one lecture about prayer. Talks a lot of different ideas there. That's one idea. Second idea, as far as having more kavanah, is before you start praying, do tshuva. Say, think about the wrongs you've done that day and already say, I'm sorry. Third tip is look at the words that you're reading and try to understand as much as you possibly can of what you're reading. If you see yourself swallowing words, stop. Stop and, slow down, go over it again. And there's plenty of others, but that's one. Last question. Kind of sounds like the whole body circumcision to allow more dominion. Yeah, okay. Oh, good. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, b'siyat dishmaya. Here we go. Michael. During Pesach, do patriarchs come to the Seder to visit like the Sukkah? Interesting question. I don't think so. I think that the Sukkot is a special time for that to happen. But there's certainly certain gates of heaven that are open during Pesach that are connected directly to the Exodus, to the people that lived at that time and so on. But BeEzrat Hashem, we'll live to see many amazing things in our life, many miracles, and BeEzrat Hashem get to see one day the Avot in real life. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'amen. Shalom v'cha, chaverim ikarim. The Pesach is among us. Of course, everyone understands the dire situation in the world. But from our perspective, the most tragic situation right now is that we have tens and tens of millions of dollars going to foreign countries to help some people that may or may not be our friends and our brothers, may or may not be Jewish, while our own brothers that are, verified our brothers in our backyard, in Eretz Yisrael, in the Frum communities, in Bnei Brak, in Tel Zion, in Yerushalayim, in Netanya, in literally every part of Eretz Yisrael are struggling to make ends meet with the skyrocketing inflation in Eretz Yisrael, with the abuse by the government, and more than anything else, by the lack of concern of some of the donors that are out there, where a lot of the money is going to help Ukraine and help a lot of other causes, while the world of Torah and the world of poverty continues to get worse. So we had to take desperate measures in these desperate times, and anyone that saw my shiur saw that we did it just in the last 24 hours. We don't have millions of dollars. We had a few $100,000 in the account, and we simply took almost all of it, and $250,000. We sent it to Rami Levy supermarkets to buy the gift cards. This is the contract with Rami Levy. This is the wire transfer. We have to do 2 wires to save some money from the banks. But the point is that this is enough to feed, probably 8,000 people, 10,000 people, give or take. And we haven't started a campaign. We haven't raised a single dollar. We don't even know if anybody's going to help. All we know is that our brothers don't have money to eat matzah, to buy matzah, to buy the basic needs for Pesach. And some of them work, some of them work and learn. Literally, the struggling is coming from everywhere. So we figured that in order to show Hashem that we love Him, and to show Him that we love His children too, we have to do something that was necessary as part of our love of Hashem, as part of our love of His people. If you want to be partners with us, you're more than welcome to. The campaign is on bhpesach.org. As I said, I already sent the money. If you want to be part of it, you're more than welcome to. If we get more than what we already sent, surely we'll send that too. If we don't get anything, then at least we know that close to 10,000 Jews are going to be able to eat. Either way, you never lose out by doing a mitzvah, and at the very least, we're able to have the merit to do so. We'd love to see you as our partners, as some of you have in the past, and BeEzrat Hashem will continue to help Am Yisrael both spiritually and physically in any way that we can. Baruch Adonai L'olam, Amen ve'Amen.
אחיי ואחיותיי היקרים, אנחנו נמצאים כמה ימים לפני חג הפסח של שנת תשפ"ב. אנחנו נמצאים כולנו, כל עם ישראל, בתקופה מאוד 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 לא פשוטה. לא רק שזה אחרי הקורונה ואחרי כל הסכנות שהיו בחשש ההידבקויות הנוראות, התחילה תקופה של פיגועים בארץ ישראל. צערנו התקיים בנו הפסוק, מחוץ תשקל חרב ומחדרים אימה. אנשים מפחדים לצאת לעבוד, אנשים חוששים. כלל גדול לימדו אותנו חז"ל, ותפילה ותשובה וצדקה מעבירים את רוע הגזרה. יש לכם הזדמנות כאן לבוא ולעזור למשפחות נזקקות, משפחות של בני תורה, משפחות של אנשים צדיקים וישרים, שארגון BeEzrat השם החליט לבוא ולעזור להם לחגוג את הפסח כבני חורין. בואו והצטרפו אל הזכות הגדולה הזאת, והזכות שלכם בוודאי תעמוד לכם ולהגן עליכם ולשמור עליכם ועל כל אחד ואחת מבני משפחותיכם בכלל כל עם ישראל. כל הצדקה שנתרמת לארגון BeEzrat השם הולכת 100% לנזקקים. אין עמלות, אין אחוזים, אין כלום. הכל הולך לנזקקים שיקנו אוכל ויוכלו לחגוג את חג הפסח בשמחה ובניצה. אהוביי, ההזדמנות הזאת היא הזדמנות מיוחדת שהקדוש ברוך הוא גלגל לידיכם. אל תעמדו מנגד, עלו על העגלה בדרך אל הגאולה. תודה רבה.